Okay, so today this will be part one of exploring the world of Tangled and its deeper meaning. Here we have three main characters, Rapunzel, Gothel, and Flynn. And don't worry, I won't be mentioning the soul, mind, and body, as we've covered these extensively in previous episodes of analysis. Rapunzel is, of course, the feminine aspects within us. That would make Flynn the masculine elements within us. And Gothel is the classic narcissistic mother, obsessed with beauty, the ego. She is also the character behind the fire in Plato's allegory of the cave. Gothel is the one who has created this cave and tells Rapunzel what the reality of the world she lives in is. We can also view her as the system, the psychopathic and narcissistic establishment that attempts to keep us locked up in the design of their own making, so we may be used, like Rapunzel, by them for their own nefarious purposes. In addition to Tangled containing elements of Plato's cave, the story is also the story of the Matrix, the story of our battle with perception. This being a battle in which challenges our reality, since we have the reality we are presented with and a separate reality where truth lies. The life beyond the walls of the Matrix can be likened to the walls beyond the tower that Rapunzel is kept in. The narcissistic mother is obsessed with the perceptual image of something rather than the internal. The origin story of the narcissist comes from the mythological character Narcissus, who is said to have fallen in love with his own reflection. A reflection is merely a projection. In the mirror, we can see our best or worst parts of ourselves. We can admire our biceps, our breasts, our smile, or we can fixate on the things we hate most about ourselves. We'll do this not only with our physical appearance, but with our personalities, behaviors, mannerisms, and thoughts. We can desire to be more confident, more attractive, or to appear more interesting. It's important that we understand and distinguish why we have the desire of these traits or these physical characteristics. What is the motivating factor behind this yearning for something that you think you aren't? We must understand where these desires come from so we can then ascertain if they are goals that are best left unachieved or goals where it's perfectly satisfactory to accomplish. And what I mean by this is, are the goals serving you, or are they an attempt to peacock your greatness to others? After all, many of us do this because we judge ourselves based on how we are judged by others. So when you look in the mirror, you must understand that your body, your personality, your courageousness, shyness, beauty are all malleable to a certain extent. The extent to which we wish to improve ourselves should be based on the wish to improve ourselves for ourselves, not for the admiration of others. So, when you find yourself going to the gym, putting on your makeup, or getting dressed up nice, make sure you know the reason behind your attempted transformation and ask yourself if it comes from a good place, and if it doesn't, then sit with that, explore it, and if you don't have time to, make a note and come back. Mindfulness comes in all forms, especially the everyday actions that we continually do. The common motif of the evil stepmother is based around the idea of image. The idea of an image is a picture that we present to the world. The picture we present to the world isn't judged solely on the image that we present. It's more complex than that. The effect of the picture is also based around the pictures that are around the pictures that we present. So, for example, a tall person is only tall based on his surroundings. A toddler is huge compared to a baby. A toddler is tiny compared to an adult. And the average adult is small in comparison with someone who is over 7 foot tall. We have the stories of Cinderella and Snow White, who, jealous of the protagonist's beauty, attempt to kill or hide the beauty of others in order to be the one that stands out. This is because the image the stepmothers present pales in comparison to the image of their stepdaughters, or rather, the image that they perceive others to perceive. And it is through comparison where the details of one's greatness or one's wickedness stands out. What we can learn from the perhaps faulty ideologies of these narcissistic parents is that comparison is the thief of joy. So when we look at others and in turn judge ourselves, for the world is only a mirror to us, what we see highlighted is either good or bad in comparison to the image that we are judging. Maybe it was good genetics and they are more beautiful or attractive than you, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve how you look now to feel better. You shouldn't be judging yourself based on what others have done or where you are in your life with where somebody is in theirs. We all have different paths, different challenges, and what we can learn from the downfall of those who meddle in good is that soon they will meet their destiny on the road they took to avoid it. When we judge, we diminish what we already have within us. A man in a wheelchair watches a man in a red jacket walk past and think, God, I'd love to be able to walk. The man in the red jacket walks across the road, watching a man on a blue, with on a bicycle in the blue helmet. The man in red says to himself, "It'd be great if I had a bike. I really want one." The man with the blue helmet sees a woman on a bus as it drives past and thinks, God, I wish I just could afford the bus, nice and warm. I won't have to get wet every day and then exert all this energy. The woman on the bus spots a green car and says, God, I'd love a car so bad. Independence, I can be my own person. The driver of the green car parks his car to an expensive Rolls Royce and thinks, wow, I'd trade anything for one of those, I'd do anything. And then the driver of the Rolls Royce gets in his car and eventually stops at a red light and he sees a group of homeless people. And he says, God, I wish I didn't have to work so much and wish I had, all that free time to focus on other stuff. And the point of the story is surely apparent to all of you. It has many themes, but the overarching one is that someone is dreaming of the things that you have now. The blind man envies the man who can see, the deaf, the one who can hear. We all have things in life. We would all like to have things in life. The issue becomes not in wanting the thing, but prioritizing it over the things that we do have. And we get so caught up in the chase that we forget what we leave behind on that chase. We're like a dog who drops a bone to chase another tree and then drops that treat for a different one still. And we will never be happy in our lives if our lives are filled with the attempt to fulfill it. And let me just repeat that. We will never be happy if our lives are filled with the attempt to fulfill it, especially when it comes at the common cost of underappreciating what we already have. Enjoy the journey and the tools that you've been given, and if you enjoy this journey and the destination, you will have double the life and it will be twice as good. Now, the story itself begins with a drop of sunlight falling from the sun, which creates a golden flower containing anti-aging properties. The reason the flower keeps Gotha young is because of the song she sung, and songs are, of course, vibration and said by many cultures to be how the universe came into existence. The flower's healing properties are a representation of the elixir of life, aka the alchemical gold, represented as the sun, where our consciousness comes from in some people's eyes. Hence, we have the drop of sunlight blossoming into the flower. The flower is also a notable likeness to the ancient golden flower in Chinese alchemy also. It's also a lotus flower, which is important in many cultures. The Egyptians, I believe, are a main candidate of that. When Rapunzel was born, she was born with golden hair, which contained within it the healing properties of the flower. And the reason that she has it in her hair is because that's where the crown chakra is, and where it is said that we have the energy vortex emanating from the top of the head. Um, we also have this not only in the film, but in all of nature throughout the cosmos. Now, Gothel, who has been using the hair to keep her young, then infiltrated the kingdom of Princess Rapunzel to try and regain her youth. However, when she cut the hair of Rapunzel, the hair turned brown and died, and this is perhaps because she destroyed the connection to the crown, to the light. And as we discussed in last slides, it's believed in both Eastern and Western traditions that energy exists and enters through the top of the head. And this is, of course, the top of the head being where most of our hair is. It's also believed that the hair and the body act as an antenna for harnessing and emitting certain types of energy. And it's proclaimed by some if you have your hair in a transfixed state, i.e., dreadlocks, for example, the energy is stored and can be used by the body and, in a way, recycled, just like the semen rising up the spine of the Kundalini energy, serpent energy, but that's a separate video altogether. And this may be why we have the representation of the transition of the hair from light to dark, and this is because she returns back to her true self when she does this also. She has cut Rapunzel from the source and of her power, and thus the transformation from dark to light. We also have female members of the Real Society who believe their long hair helped to facilitate contact with the beyond. We have the Nazarites, a religious sect who believes one must let their hair grow in accordance with a specific segment in scripture. And this is also why, in my opinion, that we have something in the military called the induction cut, and they do this to allow subservience in the brainwash and manipulation that is about to come, in which they destroy your ability to think and reason, and only follow the orders that are simply barked at you. And of course, perhaps somewhat of this is done for safety reasons, in that you wouldn't have the ability to think in the battlefield, but that's a separate discussion. Lastly, for the example, of course, there are many more, but we have Samson, who in the Bible lost his strength when his hair was cut, and synchronistically, many mythologists who studied the Bible believe that Samson was a solar deity. The Hebrew word Semes means sun, and so his long hair that starts from his head and expands outwards, akin to the sun, as we see in the top right image, top left image, sorry. Um, in art and on statues of religious figures and so on, we see what is known as the halo, which represents sun, illumination, divinity, light, truth, etc. You have the connection to the crown, both the chakra crown and the physical crown worn by royalty, which is placed where? Atop their head, exactly where the crown chakra and halo is. A crown is merely a physical representation of this crown chakra halo, instead of it being behind the head, it's obviously placed on top of the head. The Illuminati as well, the illuminated ones, also have the eye of truth at the top of the crown of the pyramid, which is what color again? Gold, which is sunlight. As Gothel cannot steal the hair itself, she decides instead to steal Rapunzel and hides her in the tower. She cannot attain enlightenment on her own, so she uses Rapunzel, who holds the elixir of life, to keep her young. It is the distortion of beauty, innocence, and purity for Gothel's own selfish intents. And we can liken this to the unfortunate instances where countless celebrities have jokingly admitted to using baby blood to keep them young and so on and so forth. She chooses the cover of night where she attempts to steal a lock of Rapunzel's hair, as Gothel can be perhaps simultaneously viewed, as the ego and the narcissistic mother. She is encapsulating and corresponding to the alchemical element of silver and of the moon, and the moon is also represented as silver. It's also associated with not only with the feminine, but with darkness, Satanism, and sacrifice. The most common form of Satanism is essentially the worship of the self, the internal wants and the needs of the Satanist. And this is in comparison to monks who worship a deity and the external. The Satanist is, of course, a worshipper of inversion, the darker aspects of man. You might say the more animalistic and aspects of man, the more primeval. The monk is arguably a disciple of nature, light and good. Again, I say arguably because religion is its own whole thing. The hood that Gothel wears speaks to a desire to be hidden, to be in the dark, and it is in the dark where we see throughout the film that she is the most powerful. We see evidence that when she steals Rapunzel, it is in the dark. She metaphorically keeps her in the dark, as in unaware. It is in the darkness where she kidnaps Flynn and manipulates Rapunzel into coming back to the tower. And lastly, it is in the dark where she stabs Flynn, chains up Rapunzel, and attempts the continuation of Rapunzel's imprisonment. Further analysing Gothel, we see many correlations with our previous findings in other videos. We see the red dress, red being a symbol for danger, the colour of the root chakra, the colour associated with the lower vibrational forms of consciousness, and of course with the devil himself. However, there are also trims of gold, the sun, the elixir of life, as this is what she desires the most. Her inward thoughts are represented externally. Both her temperament, her dangerousness, and her desires are showcased by her clothing. We can see this not only with the colour of her clothing, but embroidered in the dress we have the infinity symbol, the eternal life, sorry. Furthermore, this is also the case as she possesses the archetype of the witch in the Black Hood, who is evil and deceptive. Clouded in lies, shrouded in darkness, i.e., not truth, aligned with darkness, lies, deception. The hood is also covered in gold underneath, and we see gold only in the borders of a dress, a continuation of the desires that are closest to her attaining eternal life. And the main reason for the gold borders is the representation of the external versus the internal. The gold is on the outside, on the piece of clothing. Outside is, of course, another word for external, whereas our hair, our roots literally go into us, representing the internal. Yet again, her nails and lips are red, i.e., become beware what comes out of her mouth. And what she does with her hands, of course, because hands are action, so beware her actions. Her hair is black, the colour of darkness. The dark hair of Gothel versus the golden hair of Rapunzel, dark versus light, truth versus deception, love versus power, alchemical gold versus alchemical base lead, internal versus external. Also, Rapunzel's hair is straight and Gothel's hair is wavy and spiraled at the front. And perhaps, like in Wizard of Oz that we discussed, the protagonist remains connected to this spiral tornado, pardon me, vortex, which Rapunzel must transcend and overcome. Gothel also represents, pardon me, Big Brother from the well-known novel 1984. Now, doesn't Big Brother sound an awful lot like Mother? Big Brother, or Mother, a symbol of total control, installs fear into its citizens, hence Big Brother is always watching you. And like Gothel, it installs fear so that you can rely on them and only them. Rely on them to keep you safe and protected from the dangers that they secretly sell you and are creating themselves. When you rely on them and then you give them that power, your power, they provide you comfort and reliability, and some of these are the most deadly intoxicants known to mankind. I'm going to leave it here, guys. There are many more slides, so we will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.